At 78, I'm supposed to be living the dream, the one they sell you in all those glossy financial planning brochures. You know the one, silver-haired couples laughing on a sailboat, clinking wine glasses on a sun-drenched patio, a look of pure, unburdened bliss on their faces. I bought into that dream. I worked for 45 years, saved diligently, and counted down the days until I could finally hang up my hat. I retired at 65, right on the dot, and I'm here to tell you it was the single biggest miscalculation of my life. Those first few months were a honeymoon. No more alarm clocks, no more traffic, no more deadlines. It was glorious, but the shine wears off, and what you're left with is a silence, a void you never anticipated. The reality of retirement isn't a permanent vacation. It's a fundamental rewriting of who you are. Many of you watching are likely planning for this chapter, dreaming of the day you can finally rest, and you should. But rest and purpose are not enemies. Before you trade your work life for a life of leisure, I want to share 5 hard truths I learned from stepping away too soon. These are the things no one tells you about the other side of the finish line. Stay with me, because understanding these truths now could reshape the best years of your life. Let's begin. Truth number 1. The emptiness of an unstructured life. The single greatest shock of retirement wasn't financial, it was structural. For my entire adult life, my days had a built-in framework. I had a reason to get out of bed, a place to be, problems to solve, and people who relied on me. That structure, which I often complained about, was the scaffolding that held my identity together. When I retired, that scaffolding vanished overnight. Suddenly, every day was a blank page. At first, it's liberating. You tell yourself, I can do anything I want, but the reality is, when you can do anything, you often end up doing nothing. The golf course was fun, but it wasn't a career. The garden was beautiful, but it didn't need me 8 hours a day. I remember about a year in, I found myself wandering through my own house, picking things up and putting them down. I had organized the garage, alphabetized my book collection, and fixed every leaky faucet. It was 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I had run out of projects. I Saturday down in my favorite chair and was hit by a profound sense of irrelevance. At work, your time has value. It's measured in progress, in projects completed, in goals met. In retirement, time can become an ocean you're trying to fill with a teaspoon, without a mission, big or small. The days begin to blur together. You're not working toward a goal anymore. You're just passing the time. Before you retire, ask yourself not just, what will I do, but what will be my purpose? What will give my days meaning when no one is expecting me to show up? Truth number 2. Your social world shrinks dramatically. You probably think your friends are your friends, regardless of where you work, and that's true for your closest circle. But we often underestimate how much of our social interaction is built into our professional lives. The casual chat by the coffee machine, the team lunches, the shared jokes about a difficult client, the simple camaraderie of striving towards a common goal. That's a huge part of our social diet. When you retire, you are immediately cut off from that daily nourishment. I promised I'd keep in touch with everyone, and I did for a while, but life moves on. My old colleagues were busy with new projects, new challenges. Their world kept spinning, and I was no longer in its orbit. The weekly email chains slowly fizzled out. The "we must get lunch soon" promises became more and more distant. It's not that they forget you or stop caring. It's just that you're not part of the daily conversation anymore. You become an outsider to the world that once defined you. You find yourself telling stories that start with, "Back when I was working," and you can see a polite but distant look in people's eyes. You're talking about a chapter they're still living, while yours is already closed. Before we get to our third truth, which might be the most surprising one of all, if this is resonating with you, please take a moment to click that subscribe button and ring the bell. Here at the Silver Library, we're dedicated to sharing honest wisdom for navigating life's later chapters. Your support helps us reach more people who need to hear it. Thank you. Now, let's continue. Truth number 3. The unexpected strain on your closest relationships. This is the one nobody talks about. When you retire, it doesn't just change your life, it changes the life of the person you live with. For 40 years, my wife and I had our own rhythms. I'd go to work. She had her own pursuits, her friends, her way of running the household. We had our evenings and weekends together. It was a balance we had perfected over decades. Suddenly, I had an opinion on how to load the dishwasher correctly. I was helpfully suggesting more efficient ways to do the grocery shopping. The quiet solitude she enjoyed in the mornings was gone. Her routines were now our routines. We went from being partners with independent lives to being two people in the same small boat, 24/7, occasionally bumping into each other. It created a friction we had never experienced before. It's not about love, it's about space, both physical and mental. You and your partner have to learn a completely new dance. You have to redefine your roles, your time apart, and your time together. If you don't address it head on, that constant proximity can breed resentment. So, before you retire, have an honest conversation with your partner. How will you protect each other's independence and autonomy when you're both home all the time? Truth number 4. The mind begins to soften. We spend so much time planning for the financial health of our retirement, but we rarely plan for the mental health. Your brain is a muscle. At work, you're constantly exercising it without even realizing it. You're problem-solving, negotiating, learning new systems, managing people, hitting deadlines. Your mind is sharp because it has to be. When that daily mental workout stops, your brain can start to get soft. I noticed it in small ways at first. I'd walk into a room and forget why I was there more often. I struggled to follow the plot of a complex movie. The daily crossword puzzle, which used to be a fun challenge, started to feel like a chore. That mental sharpness, that quickness I had always taken for granted, was fading. I saw it in my friend Arthur. He was a brilliant accountant, his mind a steel trap for numbers and regulations. He retired at 62 and dedicated himself to fishing. A wonderful hobby, but it didn't challenge him in the same way. A few years later, I was talking to him about a simple tax question, and he just waved his hand and said, "Oh, I don't know. That stuff is all a blur now." The steel trap had rusted a little. Keeping your mind engaged in retirement is not optional. It's essential. It's not enough to just do puzzles. You need to learn new things. Take a language class, learn to code, study history. Put yourself in situations where you are a beginner, where you have to struggle and think. An unchallenged mind is a declining mind. Truth number 5. The financial reality is never what you planned. And finally, the money. I had a plan. My financial advisor and I ran the numbers a dozen times. On paper, My nest egg looked enormous, indestructible. I thought I had more than enough to last the rest of my life in comfort. What the spreadsheet doesn't account for is life. It doesn't account for the sudden gut-wrenching inflation that makes your grocery bill double. It doesn't account for your daughter needing help with a down payment for her first home. It doesn't account for the roof needing a complete replacement or a surprise medical bill that insurance only partially covers. But most of all, it doesn't account for the sheer number of years you might have to make that money last. Retiring at 65 could mean you need your savings to support you for 30 years or more. That nest egg, which seemed like a mountain of security, starts to look like a hill you have to defend fiercely. The psychological weight of watching your savings only go down, never up, is immense. Every purchase is tinged with a little bit of anxiety. You start saying no to things not because you can't afford them today, but because you're scared of what you might need tomorrow. Had I worked just a few more years, even part-time, that cushion would be so much more robust and my peace of mind so much greater. So, what's the lesson in all of this? Is it to never retire? No, absolutely not. The lesson is to rethink what retirement means. It's not an off switch, it's a gear shift. It's not about stopping, it's about redirecting your energy. Maybe the answer isn't a hard stop at 65, but a glide path where you transition to part-time work or consulting. Maybe it's about starting that passion project you always dreamed of, not as a hobby, but as your new work. The goal isn't to escape from a life of work, but to build a life of purpose, a life with structure, community, challenge, and meaning. That is the true dream of our later years. Don't rush to the finish line. The journey itself is far more valuable than you can ever imagine. Thank you for listening.